Well, earlier today, I spoke to Buthena Shaban. She is the political advisor to President Bashar al-Assad. And I put it to her that the UN is increasingly concerned about the government blocking some of the aid deliverers.
I met them yesterday, and they all praised the Syrian government for its cooperation.
They praise it to your face because they need to cooperate with you. But people in those suburbs are really suffering. And the UN report that has just come out says that the siege is really hurting people. There's a great fear that people are going to be starved in those suburbs over the winter.
I don't know whether other countries fear that people will starve. If they fear, they shouldn't hand arms and money to these terrorists, to Al-Qaeda groups who are killing our people. The Syrian government is doing everything it can so that food will reach our citizens. There's nobody who can love our citizens more than we do.
But why not allow humanitarian access, allow corridors? Why not allow food to go over the border from Turkey?
Across the border from Turkey, we have all the terrorists, thousands and millions of terrorists. Why don't they, and the armaments, why don't they send the food? If they can make missiles and armament reach everywhere in Syria, why can't they make sure for the food to reach everywhere? All this propaganda about the food and the humanitarian issue intends to bring Syria under Chapter 7 in the Security Council. It has nothing to do with the Syrian people. It has nothing to do with their love for the Syrian people, nor for their desire that the food for the Syrian people reach them.
What's happening in the run-up to the talks, the peace talks, Geneva 2? They're going to happen on January the 22nd.
Yeah.
So does that mean that we're going to see an intense battle because you're trying to strengthen your position in advance of those forces?
Well, I think this question should be directed also to Saudi Arabia and Turkey, who are actually flooding our country with armaments, with money, so that these Qaeda elements kill more Syrian people in order to change the dynamics on the ground and to go to Geneva II with better standing. I think that's what they are doing. What we are doing is that the government is doing, the Syrian army is doing, is trying to save our people, to bring back peace and order, because Syria has always ate from what it produces. We don't need humanitarian help. The only help we need is to restore peace and security to our country, and so our people can feed themselves and can feed other countries as well.
But of course you are getting a lot of help from Hezbollah and from the Iranian government. Do you think that's going to assist you when it comes to peace talks, that maybe Iran will now be invited to the peace talks because it's coming back into the community of nations after the deal it's done with the Western world?
I think Iran has been acknowledged now by Western countries as a nuclear power and as a regional power and as a neighboring country. And therefore, I think it is only right that Iran should be invited to Geneva II, instead of inviting countries who have been causing all this horrible problem to our Syrian people. Countries like Russia and Iran and the BRICS, who had been very positive towards the Syrian people, not towards the regime.
No, it is towards the regime. Come on. The countries you have named are the countries which sponsor you, which back you, which provide you with arms, military advice and soldiers.
No, they're not providing, nobody is providing us with soldiers, nobody is providing us
You're saying that there's no Iranian troops here, no Hezbollah?
Listen, I haven't been to the field and I don't know who is there, but the cause of the problem is Al-Qaeda and those who are financing Al-Qaeda. There's no country who would like its army to be in its cities and villages. The only reason why our army is there is to get rid of Al-Qaeda and of the Wahhabi terrorist people.
But you complain a lot about outside interference from other countries, Saudi Arabia, America, Europe, and so on. And yet the outside interference goes two ways, because the influence of Iran here is huge. Without Iran, you'd be in an extremely difficult situation, wouldn't you?
It's not true. It's not true. Without Iran, it could be an extremely difficult situation. It is our army who is fighting. It's our people who change the dynamics on the ground, because they discovered that those who are coming to Syria are trying to take us to the dark ages. And as a woman, I don't think you should be happy with what Daesh and Al-Qaeda has announced in Syria, that women can't walk on the streets.
But what I'm asking you about is Iran? Because Iran is becoming more powerful and influential here in Syria,
Good.
isn't it?
Good. Iran is becoming more powerful and influential, not only in Syria, in the region and in the world. Iran, now the world is seeing the real face of Iran.
Well, Lindsay, if anybody knows what's going on in Syria, Buthaina Shaban certainly knows. And if you read between her lines, it seems to me it's pretty clear there's going to be no question of any sort of ceasefire from either side in the build-up to the 22nd of January.
Well, I think that that's right, although we have to say that Buthaina Shaban said that she didn't know what was going on in the field. She didn't know if there were Hezbollah and Iranian fighters there. And some people, I think, would be surprised at that remark. But it's clear that the government feels it's in a strong position. And what they want to do is strengthen that position before the Geneva II peace talks on January the 22nd. So I think that what we're likely to see is quite a lot more fighting, certainly from their side, trying to recapture suburbs and towns that they have lost. But on the other side, on the rebel side, they're in disarray because increasingly they're fighting each other. And the moderate groups don't like the jihadi groups are fighting amongst themselves. And they also can't decide who, if anybody, they're going to send to those peace talks. So for the moment, it does look as if the government has the upper hand. It also looks as if the Syrian people are the ones who are really losing out because of the humanitarian crisis.
Lindsay Hilsum live in Damascus.